Right now, at this very moment, thousands of women and men over 60 are watching their hair fall out strand by strand, seeing more and more scalp showing through with each passing month, feeling their confidence slip away as their reflection becomes harder and harder to recognize. You're standing in front of the mirror every single morning, and that person staring back at you with thinning hair doesn't look like the vibrant person you still feel like inside. Every time you brush your hair or wash it in the shower, you see those strands coming away in your hands and you feel a little piece of your identity disappearing with them. You've tried expensive shampoos and supplements that promise the world, but delivered nothing, and you're starting to wonder if maybe this is just something you have to accept as part of getting older. But here's what most doctors won't tell you, what the beauty industry doesn't want you to know. This isn't just about aging, and there's actually something simple sitting in your kitchen right now that could change everything. Before we dive deep into what this powerful breakfast food is and exactly how it works to stop hair loss fast, do me a favor and hit that like button and drop a comment below with your age so we can build a community of people who refuse to give up on feeling confident and attractive at any age. Now I know what you're going through because I've talked to hundreds of women who've shared their stories with me. One woman told me she stopped going to her weekly book club because she felt so self-conscious about her thinning hair that she couldn't focus on anything else. Another said she avoided family photos for 2 years straight because she couldn't stand seeing herself with that wide part down the middle of her scalp. A man in his 60s shared that he felt invisible for the first time in his life, like people looked right through him now that his hair had thinned so dramatically. These aren't just vanity issues. These are real emotional wounds that affect how you move through the world every single day. But here's the hope I want you to hold on to right now. Your hair follicles aren't dead. They're just sleeping. And what you eat for breakfast can literally wake them back up. Let me explain something that will change how you think about hair loss forever. Your hair isn't just something that grows on your head automatically. Think of each hair follicle as a tiny factory that needs specific raw materials to produce strong, healthy hair. When you're younger, your body is incredibly efficient at delivering those raw materials through your bloodstream to every single follicle on your scalp. But after 60, 3 things start happening that most people don't understand. First, your digestion gets less efficient, so even if you're eating the right foods, you're absorbing fewer nutrients from them. Second, circulation to your scalp naturally decreases, which means less blood flow carrying nutrients to those follicles. And third, hormonal changes, especially in women going through menopause and post-menopause, alter the way your body prioritizes where nutrients go. And unfortunately, hair follicles are not considered essential for survival, so they get shortchanged. What this really means is that your follicles are basically starving, sitting there waiting for the protein and vitamins and minerals they need to produce thick, strong hair, but those nutrients never arrive in sufficient quantities. The result is what you see in the mirror: thinner strands, slower growth, more shedding and that widening part, or receding hairline that makes you feel older than your years. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, and this is where we're going to count down the 5 most important things you need to understand about stopping hair loss after 60, starting with number 5 and building all the way to the number 1 game changer that ties everything together. Coming in at number 5, we need to talk about iron deficiency and why it's silently stealing your hair without you even knowing it. Medical research has consistently shown that low iron levels are one of the most common nutritional causes of hair loss in women over 50, and here's why this matters so much for you. Iron is absolutely essential for producing hemoglobin, which is the protein in your red blood cells that carries oxygen everywhere in your body. Think of iron as the delivery trucks that bring oxygen to your hair follicles. Without enough iron, your follicles are literally suffocating, unable to generate new hair cells, because they don't have the oxygen they need to fuel that growth process. Now you might be thinking you eat plenty of iron-rich foods, but here's what happens after 60 that most people don't realize. Your stomach produces less acid as you age, and you need that stomach acid to absorb iron efficiently from your food. Plus, if you drink coffee or tea with your meals, which many American women do every single morning, those beverages actually block iron absorption significantly. I spoke with a woman who had been losing hair for 3 years and felt completely defeated. She finally got her iron levels tested and discovered she was severely anemic despite eating what she thought was a healthy diet. Within 4 months of addressing her iron deficiency through diet changes and working with her doctor, she noticed the shedding slowed dramatically and baby hairs started appearing along her hairline. Here's the fix. You need to include iron-rich foods in your breakfast, but we'll get to the specific powerhouse food in just a moment because it contains iron plus several other critical nutrients all in one package. Now we're at number 4, and this is where things get really interesting because we're talking about zinc, the mineral that most people have never even heard of in connection with hair loss, but it's absolutely crucial. Zinc plays a massive role in hair tissue growth and repair, and it helps keep the oil glands around your follicles working properly. What this really means is that zinc is like the maintenance crew that keeps your hair follicles in good working condition. Studies have found that people with hair loss often have significantly lower zinc levels than people with healthy full hair. But here's what makes this especially important for people over 60. Zinc absorption decreases naturally with age, and many common medications that older adults take, including certain blood pressure medications and diuretics, actually deplete zinc from your body even faster. One study showed that zinc supplementation improved hair growth in people who were deficient, but you don't necessarily need supplements if you get zinc from the right foods. The problem is most American breakfast foods are seriously lacking in zinc. You're not going to get meaningful zinc from toast and jam or a bowl of sugary cereal. I've talked to women who thought they were eating healthy breakfasts with oatmeal and fruit, but they were missing these critical minerals entirely. A woman shared with me that once she started including zinc-rich foods at breakfast and lunch, within about 6 weeks she noticed her hair felt thicker when she ran her fingers through it, and the texture improved dramatically. So what do you need to do right now? You need to make sure your breakfast includes zinc, and again we'll reveal that one breakfast food that delivers this along with everything else in just a minute. Coming in at number 3, and stay with me here because this connects to your situation in a way most people don't realize. We need to discuss biotin and why it's called the hair vitamin even though most people are using it completely wrong. Biotin is part of the B vitamin family and it's absolutely essential for producing keratin, which is the protein that makes up your hair, skin, and nails. Think of biotin as the construction foreman who directs the building of each hair strand, making sure it's strong and properly formed from root to tip. Now you've probably seen biotin supplements everywhere promising miraculous hair growth, but here's what the research actually shows that might shock you. If you're not deficient in biotin, taking massive supplement doses probably won't help much and could even interfere with certain lab tests your doctor orders. But if you are deficient, which is more common in older adults than most people realize, getting adequate biotin can make a noticeable difference. Biotin deficiency causes brittle hair that breaks easily, slow growth and increased shedding, that tight itchy feeling on your scalp, and even changes in your skin texture. A European study found that women with thinning hair who increased their biotin intake through food sources saw improvements in hair thickness and reduced shedding over a 3 to 6 month period. I want to be crystal clear here. This won't make you 20 years old again. You won't wake up next week with a full thick mane like you had in your 30s. But many American women who've addressed their biotin intake report noticeable improvements, that their hair feels less fragile, the shedding decreases, and they see those fine baby hairs starting to fill in areas that had been thinning. Now, you might be wondering why we're talking about all these individual nutrients instead of just naming the breakfast food already. Here's why this matters. You need to understand what your hair follicles are crying out for so that when I reveal this food, you'll understand exactly why it works so powerfully. Now we're at number 2, and this is where things get really serious because we're talking about protein. And this is probably the single biggest nutritional mistake that people over 60 make when it comes to hair loss. Here's what you need to understand. Your hair is made almost entirely of protein, specifically a protein called keratin. Every single strand growing on your head right now is literally built from the protein you ate weeks and months ago. Think of protein as the bricks that build your house. Without enough bricks, the construction crew can't build anything no matter how hard they try. When you don't eat enough protein, your body goes into a kind of emergency mode where it triages where that limited protein goes. Your body is incredibly smart about survival, and it knows that strong muscles, functioning organs, and a working immune system are essential to keep you alive. Hair growth, that's considered a luxury, not a necessity. So when protein is scarce, your body literally shuts down hair production and shifts those follicles into a resting phase, which means they stop growing new hair, and eventually the hair that's there just falls out. Medical research has documented this pattern again and again. Protein malnutrition causes hair loss, period. Now, you might think you're eating plenty of protein, but here's what happens after 60 that creates this hidden deficiency. First, many older adults start eating less overall as appetite naturally decreases. Second, you might be cutting back on meat or eggs or dairy because of health concerns or because they're harder to chew or digest. Third, even when you do eat protein, your body becomes less efficient at breaking it down and using it. So you actually need more protein than younger people do just to maintain the same level of functioning. I've talked to women who were eating tiny portions of protein at each meal, maybe just a tablespoon of peanut butter on toast or a small yogurt cup, thinking that was sufficient. One woman shared that she had been trying to lose weight by cutting calories and had drastically reduced her protein intake without realizing it. After 3 months, her hair started falling out in alarming amounts. When she finally consulted a dietitian and increased her protein significantly, within about 8 weeks, the shedding slowed noticeably, and within 5 months, she could see and feel a real difference in her hair's thickness and strength. Studies show that eating protein at breakfast, not just dinner, helps your body maintain steady amino acid levels throughout the day, which supports continuous hair growth rather than that stop and start pattern that leads to weak, brittle strands. This is it. This is the big one. We've arrived at number 1, and this is the foundational issue that makes everything else work or fail. The single most powerful breakfast food you can add right now to stop hair loss fast after 60 is eggs. Now I know what you're thinking, eggs. That's it. That's the big secret. But stay with me, because when you understand exactly why eggs are so powerful and how to use them correctly, this becomes a complete game changer. Here's what makes eggs the ultimate hair growth food. They contain all 5 of the critical nutrients we just discussed, plus several more, all in one incredibly affordable and easy to prepare package. One large egg gives you about 6 grams of high-quality complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids your body can't make on its own and absolutely needs to build keratin for your hair. That same egg provides biotin, iron, zinc, selenium, and vitamins A, D, and E, every single one of which supports hair growth and scalp health. Think of eggs as nature's multivitamin specifically designed for hair. But here's where this gets even more powerful, and this is what most people miss entirely. The way your body absorbs and uses nutrients from eggs is far superior to how you absorb them from supplements or even from many other foods. Research shows that when you cook an egg, your body can absorb about 91% of the protein, compared to only about 50% if you ate it raw, so cooking your eggs is actually critical for maximum benefit. The biotin in eggs is bound to a protein that your body can access much more efficiently when the egg is cooked properly. And the combination of nutrients working together, not isolated like in a supplement, but naturally packaged together, creates something researchers call a synergistic effect, where each nutrient helps the others work more effectively. Let me tell you about real people who've experienced this transformation. I heard from a woman who had tried everything for her thinning hair, expensive salon treatments, special shampoos, biotin supplements. Nothing made a real difference. She was skeptical when someone suggested she start eating 2 eggs every single morning, but she figured she had nothing to lose. She made scrambled eggs with a little olive oil and had them with whole grain toast and avocado. Within 3 weeks, she noticed the shedding had decreased, not stopped completely, but definitely less hair in her brush and on her pillow. By 2 months, when she ran her fingers through her hair, it felt denser, like there was just more there to hold on to. At 4 months, her hairdresser commented without being asked that her hair looked thicker and healthier. She told me she couldn't believe something so simple and inexpensive could make such a noticeable difference when expensive products had failed. Another person shared that they had been vegetarian for years, and their hair had gradually thinned to the point where their scalp was clearly visible under bright lights. They started adding 2 eggs each morning along with iron-rich spinach, and within 6 months noticed significant improvement in both hair thickness and the rate of new growth along their hairline. Now, I want to be completely honest with you, because trust is everything. Eggs alone won't fix hair loss if you have an underlying medical condition like thyroid disease, or if you're taking medications that cause hair loss as a side effect. You need to work with your doctor to rule out those issues. And eggs won't give you overnight results. Hair grows slowly, typically only about ½ an inch per month, and you won't see the full benefits for at least 3 to 4 months, because that's how long it takes for new healthier hair to grow out and for your follicles to shift from that resting phase back into active growth mode. But for nutritional deficiencies, which are the root cause of hair loss for a huge percentage of people over 60, eggs are genuinely one of the most powerful tools you have. So here's exactly what you need to do right now, starting tomorrow morning. Eat 2 whole eggs for breakfast every single day, not just the whites. You need the whole egg because most of the biotin and many other nutrients are concentrated in the yolk. Cook them any way you enjoy them, scrambled, poached, hard-boiled, over easy. Whatever method means you'll actually eat them consistently. Pair those eggs with other nutrient-dense foods. Add spinach or kale for extra iron and vitamins. Include ½ an avocado for healthy fats that support nutrient absorption and scalp health. Have a slice of whole grain toast for complex carbohydrates that give you sustained energy. If you can tolerate dairy, a small glass of fortified milk or Greek yogurt adds even more protein and vitamin D. This combination creates a powerhouse breakfast that floods your system with every single nutrient your hair follicles need to function optimally. Make this breakfast non-negotiable, as important as brushing your teeth or taking any medications you rely on. But here's where people make critical mistakes that undermine all their efforts. And I don't want you to fall into these traps. Mistake number 1. They eat eggs occasionally, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and expect dramatic results. Your hair follicles need consistent, steady nutrition every single day, not occasional bursts. Think of it like watering a garden. You can't water once a week and expect lush growth. Those plants need regular, consistent moisture. Mistake number 2, they only eat egg whites because they're worried about cholesterol, but that throws away most of the nutrients that actually help your hair. For most people, dietary cholesterol from eggs doesn't significantly impact blood cholesterol levels, but check with your doctor if you have concerns. Mistake number 3, they give up after 2 or 3 weeks when they don't see immediate dramatic changes. Remember, hair grows slowly, and you need to stick with this for at least 3 months to see real results. Mistake number 4, they focus only on eggs and ignore everything else. like they still eat processed junk food the rest of the day and don't drink enough water. Here's what you should realistically expect if you commit to this starting right now. In the first 3 to 4 weeks, you probably won't notice dramatic visible changes, but many people report that the shedding decreases. Less hair in the shower drain and on their pillow. Between weeks 4 and 8, you might notice your hair feels slightly different, maybe a bit stronger or less brittle when you style it. Between 2 and 4 months, this is when you start seeing visible improvements. Existing hair appears thicker and healthier. You might notice baby hairs starting to sprout along your hairline, and overall density improves so your scalp is less visible. Between 4 and 6 months, you should see substantial improvement if nutritional deficiency was a major factor in your hair loss. Let me share one more story that brings this all together. A woman in her mid-60s had been devastated by her hair loss for years. She had tried expensive prescription treatments but couldn't tolerate the side effects. When she heard about adding eggs to her breakfast consistently, she was honestly skeptical, but she decided to try it for 6 months. She made a commitment to eat 2 eggs every morning with vegetables and whole grain toast. She also started drinking more water and taking short walks each day. By month 3, her husband noticed less hair around the house. By month 5, her hairdresser told her she could definitely see new growth. At 6 months, when she looked at photos from a year earlier, she could barely believe the difference. Her part was significantly less wide, and the overall density had improved substantially. She told me that the simplest change, something that cost maybe $1 a day, had given her results that expensive treatments never delivered. Here's the bottom line that I want you to really hear and take to heart. You deserve to feel confident and attractive at every age. You deserve to look in the mirror and recognize yourself. This isn't vanity. This is about holding on to your identity and your sense of self. And the truth is, for many people over 60, the solution isn't complicated or expensive. Your hair isn't necessarily falling out because of your age. It's falling out because your follicles are starving for the specific nutrients they need. When you give them what they need consistently, those follicles can wake back up and start producing healthy hair again. It won't happen overnight. Real results take 3 to 6 months of commitment. But those months are going to pass whether you make this change or not. 6 months from now, you can either be in the exact same situation you're in right now, still watching your hair thin, or you can be looking in the mirror amazed at how much fuller your hair looks, feeling confident enough to wear it any way you want. Start tomorrow morning with 2 eggs and don't miss a day for the next 6 months. Pair them with nutrient-dense foods like leafy greens and avocado. Drink plenty of water. Be gentle with your hair, manage your stress, get enough sleep, work with your doctor to rule out underlying medical issues. Be patient because hair grows slowly, and trust the process because it works when you commit to it fully. If you found this valuable, hit that like button so other people struggling with hair loss can find this video. Drop a comment sharing your age and where you're from. Share this with others who might be quietly struggling. Subscribe for more practical evidence-based information that empowers you to take control of your health. Remember, your best years don't have to be behind you. With the right knowledge and actions, you can look forward to every stage of life with confidence. You've got this.